Welcome back to the Early Weigh-In Podcast. Going down later today is UFC Edmonton. We got 14 fights here to break down as always. Recap last week, then we'll get into these fights. Day we could kind of both forget about. Not too much to talk about there.
Yeah, no, not at all. We'll start off with our shining moment of both of our cards. The only hit bet, your only straight pick was Abus Magomedov over Bruno Ferreira, only minus 144. He looked really good. You hit that for a little over a unit. Then you had two plays that ended up just nullifying. You had Ige scorecards, no action, and Bruno Silva scorecards, no action. Thought those were both relatively safe plays. We know how durable Dan Ige is, and Bruno Silva just didn't look like he wanted to be in there whenever he fought. You also tried to play the co-main and main, and what I thought was a pretty good attempt for the price that you got. You got plus 300 on Holloway rounds 4-5 or decision, and plus 380 on Whitaker rounds 4-5 or decision. I don't know. Khamzat's the real deal, I guess, and Ilya Topuria has solidified himself in my eyes.
For sure.
Over 2.5 rounds in Jeff Neal versus Rafael Dos Anjos. RDA, I think, has just gotten up there in age. Probably not going to look good after this. Alexander Rakic versus Ankalaev. You had Ankalaev in round 2 and 3. I don't even know if I watched that fight, dude. How was it?
No real chance of hitting, but my thought process was, he's gunning for a title shot. UFC would love for him to get a finish here, so it's like put the stamp on the guy.
It's the urgency.
It was going to slow down, and nope, not the case yet again.
Gotcha. Still only minus 1.7 units, so really not that bad, but not what we're looking for. And then over on my card, clean sweep the other way. I had two big dogs in Robert Whitaker at plus 205 and Rakic at plus 310. Was Rakic even close to winning, or was it just a...
Nah, I mean, it went to decision, but I thought it was pretty clean sweep for Ank.
Same. And then fight doesn't go to the distance in Fakrdina versus Carlos Leal. I don't know, dude. Both them dudes. Leal was just juiced to the gills. I don't think you could have dropped him with a metal bat. That dude
could have won that fight.
Yeah, and he won that fight. You're right. I thought somebody was for sure going down there, but I guess not. Minus 3 units on the night. Certainly forgettable. And we will move over to the first fight of the night, which I think takes place in the women's flyweight division. Let's see. Yeah, women's flyweight division with Jamie Lynn Horth versus Ivana Petrovic. Truthfully, I feel like the odds makers are just counting out Petrovic here. I'm not a huge fan of Jamie Lynn Horth. Watched her get controlled for like a full round against Haley Cowan. Don't love that. And then Veronica Hardy just kind of allowed Hardy to do her game plan, which is like a pitter-patter, make fights close, and get the decision. Ivana Petrovic, younger fighter, a little bit bigger. I think that there's a good chance that she winds up on top. I think this is going to be a close fight, but given the odds, I'm certainly leaning Ivana Petrovic. Not something I think I'm going to put on my card just because it is a women's fight. And the underdogs aren't really doing that well this year. Yeah. But, give me Ivana Petrovic here for the first fight, underdog.
I'm on the other side here, but, 100% agree, not in love with the price tag whatsoever. I feel like if you do play a bet in this fight, it's likely dog or pass, and it's because of the likelihood of Ivana landing some takedowns as well. I just feel like the size of Jamie Lynn Horth is going to come into play here, just be a little bit too big, a little bit too physical, kind of bully her a little bit in the clinch. And I don't know. I feel like Jamie Lynn Horth, I think she should be the favorite. Above minus 200, though, is getting quite wide, though. So I don't blame you, though, for staying off the fight, though. Man, it's a close one. Trying to pick our spots. Not the best fight to bet on. Moving on up, man, Cody Gibson and Chad Henniger at 135. I was tempted a little bit on Cody earlier in the week. Then the line jumped. He's like minus 230 or something now. He's going to have a little bit of a size advantage. He's got great cardio, great output. I think he's got a big wrestling advantage, likely a submission edge. So I'm on the Cody Gibson side here, man. I've never really been a Chad, I don't want to say fan, but never really someone to back him. I think he's a little bit undersized. He's tough. He's got that dog in him, but I think he's outskilled here in most positions by Cody.
Yeah, these are two fighters that I enjoy fading. They're older, but you're right. Cody Gibson does have that extra fuel in the tank whenever it comes down the stretch, and I think that he'll probably get this done. I think the over hits like 100% of the time. It's only like minus 185, so I feel like that's even a decent parlay piece. I like the over in that one for sure. As far as a pick, yeah, I'll go Cody Gibson by decision. Moving up, staying in the same weight class, Sergey City versus Garrett Armfield. I am a part of the Armfield Army. I do like him a lot. I think that this fight stays on the feet like the whole time. I think Sergey's size and athleticism is a little worrisome, and I think that he has the ability to put up just as much volume. So let's see. Yeah, I actually agree with the line. I want to give Sidhi just a slight edge simply because of the athleticism advantage. And if Armfield isn't knocking anybody out, I think that it'll probably be a close fight. And I think that Sidhi will probably win the bigger moments. So give me Sidhi. It's not what I'm playing. I'm not playing against Garrett Armfield because Armfield has a way to make fights close.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably what we get here, but it's just going to be a judge's decision, and I don't want to be on it. So give me Sidhi.
I think I'm on the City side as well, man. But Garrett Armfield's played spoiler once before here in Canada. When you cash that ticket on him against Brad Katona, he's got real slick boxing. I think he's got a significant power edge, and I'm really not sold on the chin of CD as well. But I see the same things as you do with the speed, the athleticism, and volume from CD, and the potential that Garrett Armfield's probably going to slow down in this fight like he does in the later half of most of them. So I think CD by decision, probably how this fight goes down. No bet for me either. Moving on up, all the way up to heavyweight, man, Alexander Romanov, Rodrigo Nascimento. Earlier in the week, I thought it might be pretty binary that it's Romanov round one or Nascimento probably finds a finish late in the fight. But I'm also just not counting out, Romanov being able to find one or two takedowns each round and just being able to lay on top of him. It's a fight that I'm not too confident on either side. I still lean toward Romanov's best chances being early in this fight. And if it doesn't happen, Nascimento's got some pretty slick BJJ. He can get on top. He's got some good submissions and clearly the better striker. So at the end of the day, man, I think I'm going to lean Rodrigo Nascimento, but super volatile fight. Maybe get on Rodrigo Nascimento live after a round or something.
This is my first play of the day for sure. Easy Nascimento for me. I think Romanov's donezo. Like I've seen him now. Last few fights, we saw him in that grappling at Karate Combat. I mean, I think dude's done with fighting. I think he's done giving it effort. I'm not even sure when he initially came into the UFC that he was training half as hard as most of the guys on the roster. And I really think that ship has sailed. You talked about Nascimento's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If it does wind up on the ground for the first round, let's say, I do think he's going to be able to keep him from getting a submission or getting a finish. And if he can just draw this out, I think Nascimento's big enough to make him pay for the missed shots. And I think he should fuck him up, man. So plus money, easy play for me, probably 2 units. I think Nascimento's got a really good shot, especially at plus money. I saw that. I was like, all right, I'm in. I'm all in.
Yeah, I feel like this line flipped. I felt like Romanov was the dog earlier this week.
And rightfully so, dude. I think Romanov's done. Like I would love to see him versus Chase Sherman again, dude. I think it'd be way closer than the minus 2,400 he was with the first fought.
I have to see what kind of shape he's in. I didn't see him on the scale or anything. I have to go check it out.
Nothing. I mean, just fat. It's still Slob. Fat, Like, yeah, just not taking care of himself. Like Nascimento doesn't have a fucking Greek god body, but he's taking it serious, and he's a little bit younger. Like he's 31-year-old heavyweight. He's still making improvements. I think he's the rightful side for sure. Let's see. We move up down a few weight classes to the featherweight division. Jack Shore taking on Yusuf Zalal. We talked a little bit about this one before the stream started. Yusuf Zalal, you're having to pay a hefty price tag on somebody who has been cut from the UFC once.
Yeah.
It's tough, and it's just because he's beaten guys like Billy Quarantillo and Jarno Aarons, who Jarno hasn't had a great run in the UFC.
And Billy
Jack,
Q was 100% hurt coming into that fight.
yeah, 100%. Jack Shore, coming off of a loss to Joe Anderson Brito, but he does have legitimate wins over Makwan Amirkhani and Timur Valiev. We're talking about Jack Shore, who is a favorite over Ricky Simone, a 2-1 favorite, another big favorite against Makwan Amirkhani. I think that the line's probably messed up here. I wouldn't be surprised if I could talk myself into a unit on Jack Shore. Truthfully, I have always talked against Welsh wrestlers, European wrestlers. It's just like not something I want to put my money on, but I do think that the line's a little wide. So Jack Shore, what did we say it was? Plus 265, something like that.
Yeah.
Appealing if only a half unit. He's the play for me.
Probably what I'm gonna be releasing as well, man. Half unit Jack Shore plus 265. I do not see Zalal finishing this fight like he has the last two. I feel like this one goes at a decision at a extremely high clip. It's minus 315 to go the over 2.5. So I feel like a lot of grappling's involved. I feel like Jack Shore is just as good of a grappler, if not maybe positionally more sound than Yusuf Zalal, man. So, yeah, plus 265. It's going to be an easy bet for me to release later on today. Moving on up, Charles Jourdain, Victor Henry. Solid fight, man, but it's one of these and other ones that I feel like is probably going to go to decision. And judges been kind of all over the place this week. It's in Canada. But Victor Henry's super skilled, man, in all facets of the game. His cardio's great, got really good takedown defense, good wrestling, good volume. I think he's a really solid fighter, man. And Charles Jourdain, I think he's making a great move going down to 135. I always felt like he was a little undersized at 145, and John Silva kind of proved that to him. So I think it's a great job. Drop to 135. You always have some question marks on how the chin will take it, how the cardio will do, but I think he's going to hold up fine, man. I think it's going to be a high pace, very, very high pace fight. Both of them always throwing a ton of volume. I've kind of flipped back and forth all week. I think I'm gonna take Charles Jourdain to steal a decision here in Canada. Probably a split decision, honestly. I just think it's a super close fight. Side with the hometown guy.
Okay, let's see. So is this Jourdain's first move to bantamweight?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, dude. Victor Henry's a tough one. Like, I know for sure that Vegas doesn't even know how to cap that dude. He's gone minus 400, plus 400, plus 400, minus 400. And then now we're getting like an even money fight. And I don't think that he's that great. He's pretty fundamentally sound. He's tough and he can push a pace, but those are some basic things to have in the UFC. Charles Jourdain, he's still under 30, which is nice, but the move to 135 is kind of surprising. I thought that he was a big 145er, to be honest with you. I know he was only 5'9", but I thought he had a pretty decent frame for 145. So him coming down to 135 is a little surprising. If there was a point in his career that he did choose to do that and he could do it safely, I think that this is probably his move. I'm just, I'm not sure after the knockout loss. Like, he's kind of always been somebody who's relied on his durability, and seeing him get knocked out, it's not the best move. It usually doesn't work out when you get knocked out for, one of the first. It was his first time ever getting knocked out, and then you change up weight classes. Not always the best look. So for me, it's a pass. But I think Charles Jourdain is the better fighter here. I think he's going to be a little bit bigger. But all of his fights are close. I think we see the over and a judge's decision here. Let's see. Moving up the card, prelim headliner, Ayman Zahabi taking on Pedro Munoz. I don't know, dude. Zahabi has certainly surprised me. I would not have put him on a 4-fight win streak in the UFC ever. Let's see. Draco Rodriguez, Ricky Tercio, Sarichi Lang, and Javid Basharat. The Javid one's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Now he's a favorite over a ex-title challenger in Pedro Munoz. Munoz being 38 years old though at this weight class, like it's gonna come to a halting stop, and he's 1-4 in his last 5. So it's tough to trust him, but I feel like this is easily his most winnable fight in like the last 4 years, something
Easily.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
So yeah, give me underdog money at, for Pedro Munoz. Don't love it. It'll probably just be a unit because it's going to be a close fight. Eamon Zahabi, similar to
William Gomez.
yeah. William Gomez works. Yeah, I was thinking Neil Magny, but yeah,
Yeah.
William Gomez just a fucking long, wants to keep you on the outside and pitter patter to a
Yep.
decision. Not somebody I want to play. Give me Pedro Munoz at plus money, but maybe only a unit.
Very similar thoughts, man. It's got to be Pedro or pass this week for me in terms of skill set. I feel like he's always been the better fighter, competition wise as well, and he's ultra durable. He's got a great gas tank. I'm just a little bit worried about Zahabi in this big cage, just skirting around the outside and winning a close decision because his last name is Zahabi here in Canada. But I feel like it's if you make a play here, it's got to be Pedro Munoz. So might find myself on that one as well with you. Kicking off the main card, super good fight, man, between Mike Malott and Trevin Giles. First leg of my parlay here, as well as this fight not to go the distance. Um, you know, Mike Malott's a quitter, man. I don't really have another way to put it. What he showed last time against Neil Magny is, you get put in one bad position, you fold up and you go home, even after dominating the fight. I didn't like to see that. I would never lay the juice on Mike Malott after that. But Trevin Giles is somebody who's been finished in like all 6 of his professional losses and pulls stunts all the time and doesn't have a really good chin, gets guillotined all the time. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Mike Malott's likely going to sting him with a shot and pull guillotine and submit this guy probably in the first 7 minutes of the fight. So Mike Malott inside the distance, but minus 225 for fight doesn't go the distance. I thought was a really solid price tag on that was available on DraftKings earlier.
Yeah. They've grappled a couple years ago for a full 8 minutes, so they are familiar with each other at least. I think, like you said, Malott is a quitter if he doesn't get the finish, but the way that Trevin Giles' career has gone recently, I just feel like he cannot help himself but get finished in the first 2 rounds. And it seems like this is a bounce back spot that the UFC is trying to give Mike Malott in his home country. I do think that he finds the finish early. I wonder, I'm sure that the line probably reflects it, but I do wonder what an early finish is for Malott. Like if we're looking at, let's see, Malott inside the distance. Yeah, so minus 120. I would take even money Malott, and his only way that he's going to win is inside the distance. So that's how I'm looking at this fight if I was going to play it. Just Mike Malott inside the distance. Let's see, moving up. Was that our first fight of the main card?
Yep.
Yeah, sure was. Okay, moving up to I don't know, the worst fight I've seen in a couple of years, dude. Marc-Andre Barriault versus Dustin Stoltzfus. I have always tried to fade both these guys. I've actually tried to back Marc-Andre a couple times, and he always lets me down. So it's a layoff fight for me. I really don't want anything to do with this fight. Yeah, Marc-Andre probably a little bit bigger. Positionally, might win some minutes. Yeah, I give Barriault the nod, but not something I want to get involved in at all.
I'm probably not going to get involved either. I think Dustin Stoltzfus, when he doesn't have someone like Abus or Bruno Ferreira who's just going to shut your lights out in front of him, he even showed it against Puna, man. He can go out there and land takedowns, and I think that's what Marc-Andre struggles with the most is someone who's willing to come out there and wrestle him. So earlier in the week, I kind of thought it felt like the dog was a little bit live, but Stoltzfus is kind of one of those guys that always seems to find a way to lose a fight. One of the third rounds against Vera and GM3, it's just he slows down, finds a way to lose it, and Marc-Andre's not going to slow down. He's got an incredible pace, great pressure, crowd behind him. He might be down early in this fight here, maybe give up a couple takedowns in the first round, but I think as this fight starts to progress and get later into the fight, which I think it likely goes to decision, or we see Marc-Andre get a round 3 finish, somewhere along the lines of that. So I'm on the MAB side, but not extremely passionate. Probably won't be touching it either. Ariana Lipski, De Silva, taking on Jasmine Jastovicius. Jasmine's a tough girl. She comes forward. She'll put you on your back foot and have an incredible pace, but her striking defense is not great. And Lipski is someone who I've seen clear improvements from, has really good striking. But I feel like if Jasmine gets her takedowns going, like I think she will, I think she finds her way on top and probably finds a TKO finish. I don't know if she's going to submit her, but I think she's just mean, physical. I feel like she's going to get on top, probably find her way on mount and ground and pound her way to a referee stoppage in the second half of this fight, probably. So I like Jasmine, round 2, round 3, TKO, something like that, man.
Yeah, I see the thought process there. I'm not like super high on Jasmine. She's 35 years old. With the type of pace that she has to bring in every single fight, I do think that we'll see a decline here soon. But she hasn't really been fighting that much. You talked about Lipski kind of coming into her own recently. She's certainly in the prime of her career, and she can't keep it on the feet. She could really make Jasmine pay with the lack of defense that Jasmine has. But this could be a Casey O'Neill-esque fight where if Jasmine doesn't get the takedowns, we could see her piece her up on the feet. I like Lipski at dog price. I might not get there. It's another one of these, like, it's a dog or pass for me because it's a girl fight and I can make an argument for the dog. So I'm going to take the dog. But yeah, Jasmine probably will get the takedowns, and what's her face? Lipski will probably be content with laying on her back and trying to find submissions off of there. I don't think that'll happen. We'll probably get a decision, and I think the Jasmine will probably get the nod. So no play for me. Value play Lipski. Let's see. Moving up to light heavyweight, Caio Machado taking on Brandon Ribeiro. Machado, somebody that like Dana really wants to see do well in the UFC, and I just don't think that that's possible, man. Like, he looks great in awesome shape now, but I think that he was super, super slow at 265, and he's going to look like an old man against anybody at 205. Brandon Ribeiro, not that great, is willing to bang though, and I think that just early he's going to have such a big speed advantage that he can catch Caio. Now Caio is working with a phenomenal chin, never been finished before, but it's coming, like it's every single one of his fights. It's like the ref is almost stepping in. And I think that Brendanson probably has a pretty decent chance here. And Caio as a favorite in the UFC just doesn't sit right with me. So give me Ribeiro here.
If the line was a little bit closer, I might have bet Machado. I'm not thrilled about the move down, but he does look in great shape. But kind of like we talked about with Jourdain, what's your chin going to be like? What's your cardio going to be like when you go and lose 45, 50 pounds, in half a year or something? So big question marks about him. So staying off of him, and because Brendanson, like you said, has massive power. But dude, he's got one of the most dodgiest chins that I've seen in a while. I think if Caio cracks him, he's probably going to go down, probably going to get cut from the UFC. Like you said, Dana seems like he wants Caio to do good here. So I think Caio gets back on track, and the under 2.5 in a light heavyweight fight to only be like minus 160. Something I've looked at here because both of these guys, tend to have finishes. Brendanson, again, horrible durability in my eyes. So I'm on the Machado side, man, on this one here. Moving up to our 5-round co-main event between Rose Namajunas and Aaron Blanchfield. I see arguments for Rose to be able to skirt the outside. She's a better striker. You know, she's been in a ton of 5 round spots before, but I think Aaron's going to get her down, man. I really do. I think the physicality of Manon was too much for Aaron. I think the striking of Manon was way better than what she's going to see from Rose. And Aaron still showed me a ton of heart, man. She's young, she's improving. I love the way she just constantly comes forward. She's a tough chick, and I think she's going to get a hold of Rose. And I think once she gets Rose down, I wouldn't be shocked if she submits her, man. But I think there's a big advantage on the mat for Erin Blanchfield. And if the line would come down ever so slightly, I'd love a -120, -125 or something. But Erin Blanchfield's the pick for me here, man. I like her to get it done.
Yeah, what Manon did is something that I don't think anybody else in the division can emulate. She's just bigger right now, and like you said, more physical. But even her time, like it is coming. I think that Manon's 35, something close to that. Erin Blanchfield, that was I think her first UFC loss, right?
Right.
She's 25 years old. She will be a future champion. I do have a lot of hope for Erin Blanchfield, and I think that her style will translate well as she progresses through her MMA career. She can start to pick up the striking, but as long as she has that base, I do think that it's going to take her to gold eventually. Rose Namajunas up at 125, already a little undersized. I don't think that she's going to carry the power that she needs to stop Erin Blanchfield or to even, get her respect. I could definitely see. Is this a smaller cage? Do you know?
Probably not. I'd say it's a big one.
So that works against Blanchfield a little bit, but I don't know, dude. I think Blanchfield, if she doesn't win this one, she would win the rematch in 2 years, and it doesn't matter because she's 25 and she'll have all the chances in the world after this. This is not a spot that I really want to lay heavy money on Blanchfield, who is the favorite, but I do think that she gets this done, win some control time. I don't think she submits Rose. Rose is pretty crafty, but I do think that she gets the nod on the judges' scorecards, and decent bounce back fight after the Manon loss to kind of put her right in that title talks again. So Give me Erin Blanchfield. Now the main event, Brandon Moreno taking on Amir Albazi. Moreno earlier this year in February said that he was going to take a little break, spend some time with his family. I kind of like teased the retirement word, but here he is back. I think he looks good. He looks like he's in good shape. I've never been a huge fan of Amir Albazi. I think that he is really strong for the weight class, and if you don't know what you're doing on the ground, he could really take advantage of you. Moreno's so good at scrambling, though. I think that he's going to be able to make him work over 5 rounds enough, and then make him pay when they're on the feet enough to get the nod for 3 or 4 out of the 5 rounds. And I really do expect Moreno to kind of come out here, solidify himself as still one of the number 1 contenders. He's 30 years old, and I do think that there's another run for him, especially if he can fit it into the next 2 years. I think that there's a 100% of potential for him to regain the title because it's a wide open division right now. It's just really tough to set up a fight with Pantoja when he's beaten you 3 or 4 times already. So give me the assassin baby. I like Brandon Moreno here. I do not like the price tag, though. I just talked about it, mentioning the retirement thing. That's not something that you want to hear. So pass for me, but Brandon Moreno's the pick for sure.
Earlier in the week, I was like, yeah, it's probably Brandon Moreno here, but I don't know, man. You brought up the major points that I'm really concerned about. I don't think Brandon Moreno looked himself last time out, and I don't know if 6 months off or whatever it was enough, man. I don't think Brandon Moreno looked the same, honestly, in that last fight, and I can't fault him. You had like 4 title fights with Figgy, tough battles, getting dropped, going, spent over an hour or 2 hours in the cage with him or something, man. It's, I can't fault him, but I don't know if I think I can confidently say that Brandon Moreno's best days might be behind him, man. And Amir Albazi the red flags for him is the surgeries and all the kind of stuff he was dealing with as well. He's been out of the action for a while, but dude looks shredded. Dude looks ready. I'm just worried that if, he can't control Brandon Moreno, what else does he really have to his game? Because Brandon's probably got the cardio advantage, or does have the cardio advantage, is the better striker, will have, be the more active guy. I feel like you can count on him to probably win the championship rounds as this fight goes late, which I think it does. So yeah, I think I'm on this Brandon Moreno side as well, but I'm really not in love with the price, man. I think he's maybe like 55, 58%. I'm not in love with this as it's starting to climb above 60. I
This
bet
is
the over
probably
three. Good.
sorry. This
I
is
was just
probably
gonna.
his easiest fight in 4 years, dude.
Yeah, I
Moreno.
mean, yeah, I 100% agree. I just wonder about the timing right now. Is Almir Albazi just catching him at the right time? And Brandon Moreno is always the superior fighter. Just I don't know what form he's in. But what I was going to say is I bet the over 3.5 in this fight with the Mike Malott, Trevin Giles doesn't go the distance. That's the only bet that I have on the card right now, but might release a couple underdog shots. But I'm more confident that this fight goes over than I am picking either side. But I'm still going to side with Brandon Moreno, I think.
Fair enough. You go ride with me on Nascimento or what?
I might ride with you on Nascimento. I think it's an easy Romanov fade, especially if we're getting plus money. So
I think this will be the last time we get to fade Romanov, dude.
yeah, I don't hate it. Any last final thoughts? Anything else?
No.
Appreciate you guys hanging out with us, man. We'll be back next week. Break down the fights as always. See you guys.
Peace.